When a woman hurts you, whether by words, betrayal, distance, or indifference, the instinct is often to react. You want to explain yourself, defend your heart, maybe even cry out in pain, hoping she'll realize what she's done. But here's a truth she doesn't expect. The deepest pain you can ever cause someone who's hurt you is not anger, not begging, not trying to make her understand. It's silence. It's the quiet removal of your energy. The kind that doesn't scream, doesn't plead, doesn't even flinch. It just disappears. And that silence, it terrifies her more than anything because now she's no longer the center of your emotional world. You didn't leave a mess behind. You didn't throw words like knives. You left with your dignity. And that kind of exit haunts a woman more than any fight ever could. You see, your energy, your consistency, your presence, your words, your late-night texts, your random calls, your little check-ins, your constant, "I'm here no matter what," those weren't just habits. They were her safety net. Even if she hurt you, part of her believed you'd still be around. That's what most people do. Especially when their love is real, they stay. They tolerate. They try to fix it. But sometimes the most powerful thing love can do is walk away without noise. And I'm not talking about ghosting or passive aggressiveness. I'm talking about a sacred kind of silence. A silence born from self-respect, not revenge. The kind that says, "I'm not punishing you. I'm simply choosing me." There's a weight in your absence she didn't prepare for. Suddenly, the little notifications are gone. The heart she could once hold in her hands feels like it vanished overnight. She may scroll through her messages hoping to see your name. She may wait thinking you'll come back like you always did, but you don't. And that's when it begins to burn. Because silence forces reflection. And when a woman starts reflecting after hurting a man who truly cared, her memory doesn't play fair. It replays the good things louder than the bad. It reminds her of the comfort, the effort, the warmth she never had to ask for. And that's when she begins to miss you. Not the version of you that tried to convince her of your worth, but the version that now refuses to explain a single thing. You're not doing it to be cruel. You're doing it because you've learned that begging for clarity only cheapens your soul. You've realized that anyone who can hurt you and still sleep peacefully doesn't deserve the softness of your words. And that's what makes your silence so haunting. It speaks of a man who is finally done handing over his power, and something incredible happens in that stillness. You start to come back to yourself. The fog clears. You begin to remember the parts of you that existed before she entered the picture. The dreams, the confidence, the self-worth that got buried under all the may and what-ifs. You start healing in the shadows quietly, powerfully. Meanwhile, she's starting to feel the void. At first, she might convince herself that she doesn't care. She might go on with her life, laugh with her friends, post her stories, pretend nothing's changed. But when night falls, when she's alone, when her world gets quiet too, that's when she feels it. The space you used to fill now echoes in ways she can't drown out. Because now you're not just gone, you're unreachable. And that kind of absence is magnetic. It draws her in without a word. You don't need to post anything. You don't need to prove that you're doing better. You just need to be better for yourself. She'll feel it. A woman always feels when a man detaches with grace. Not bitterness, not coldness, but with peace. And peace is more dangerous than anger because it means you've healed enough to never return to what broke you. So if she hurt you, don't text her paragraphs. Don't send her a goodbye letter. Don't show her how much pain you're in. Let her wonder. Let her sit in the silence she created. And most of all, let her miss you in the emptiness you left behind. Because sometimes the most unforgettable goodbye is the one that doesn't say a single word. There's something deeply powerful about pain, when you let it transform you instead of destroy you. When a woman you loved wounds you, it can feel like everything you believed in collapses. Your heart doesn't just ache, it questions itself. You start wondering what you did wrong, what you should have done differently, why your love wasn't enough to be protected, to be chosen. But here's the thing, most men forget in that darkness. Heartbreak is not the end of your story. It's the fire that forges the next version of you. You were someone before she came into your life. You had goals, dreams, a rhythm, a sense of direction. Then love came and everything shifted. You made space for her in your time, your mind, your plans. You bent, you gave, you tried. And maybe in the process, you lost bits of yourself trying to hold on to her. That happens to the best of us. Love can be blinding, especially when it's deep, especially when it's real. But now you have something even more valuable than her love. You have the pain she left behind. And if you're brave enough to face it instead of run from it, you'll find the version of you that was always meant to rise. Not for her, not to make her regret, but for you. Because no woman should ever be the reason you stop becoming who you were born to be. This is your moment to rebuild quietly, fiercely. You don't need to announce it to the world. Just wake up each day and put in the work. Get stronger physically, mentally, spiritually. Reconnect with your discipline. Show up for yourself the way you once showed up for her. Because here's a secret. Nothing makes a woman miss a man more than seeing the version of him she never got to love fully. You become the man she once prayed for, but lost the right to stand beside. And while you grow, something subtle happens in her mind. She may pretend to move on. She may even distract herself with new people, new attention. But deep inside, she'll begin to notice the man you're becoming. Even if she never says it, even if she hears about you through friends or sees glimpses on a screen, the realization hits differently when she watches you turn the very pain she caused into fuel for your evolution. You don't become bitter, you become better. You don't harden, you sharpen. And while she might have expected you to fall apart, cry endlessly, lose your focus, instead she sees a man who is rising, not despite her absence, but because of it. And that changes everything. Because women are drawn to growth, to purpose, to presence. And when a man starts glowing from the inside out, when he starts walking with a kind of peace that no longer seeks validation, she begins to ache, not for your attention, but for your energy. The energy she once had easy access to. The energy she now has to watch from a distance. And the irony, you don't do any of this to make her miss you. That's just a side effect. You do it because you finally remember who you are. You do it because you've decided to stop handing out your power to people who can't hold it with care. You do it because the man you're becoming deserves your full attention. You see, the greatest comeback doesn't need applause. It doesn't need posts. It just needs consistency. Just you every single day choosing to heal, choosing to improve, choosing to elevate, no matter how heavy your heart still feels. And over time, she'll realize something heartbreaking for her, but liberating for you. The version of you she hurt no longer exists. And the version of you now, he's too far ahead to ever go back. So when you feel the sting of betrayal, the ache of her absence, the sharpness of her rejection, don't fold, don't chase, don't try to make sense of it all. Just shift your focus inward. Become the man you were meant to be before she entered the picture, because that man is unforgettable. That man is missed without even trying. That man is free. And when she finally looks for you again, she'll see that the man who once waited for her no longer lives in the same place. There's something that lingers in a woman's mind long after she walks away from a man who loved her deeply. It's not just his face or his voice or even his touch. It's the story she remembers about him, the emotional blueprint she keeps tucked away in the back of her memory, shaped by how he reacted to pain, how he responded to rejection, how he held himself when things fell apart. And the truth is, most men don't realize they have the power to rewrite that story. Not through words, not through argument, but through transformation. You see, when she hurt you, she formed a certain image of you. Maybe she saw the desperate side, the pleading, the heartbreak. Maybe you broke down. Maybe you tried to reason with her. Or maybe you tried to remind her of everything you built together. And in that moment, as vulnerable and honest as you were, something inside her shifted. Because sometimes when people hurt the ones who love them, they begin to see that love as weak, as too available, too soft, and it's not fair, but it's real. But here's what makes her miss you long after the tears have dried and the silence has settled. It's when the man she thought she knew becomes someone entirely different. Not out of revenge, not to prove a point, but because he evolved. You're no longer the man who begged. You're no longer explaining your worth. You're simply living in a way that makes her question everything she thought she understood about you. It begins in the smallest ways. You stop reaching out, not with bitterness, but with calm indifference. You stop engaging with her online, not because you're angry, but because you're uninterested in being seen. You stop trying to clarify your love, your pain, your value, because the man who has moved on doesn't seek validation from the one who hurt him. And when you shift like that, when your energy no longer bleeds where it used to pour, she feels it. That old emotional story she had of you begins to crumble. The image of you waiting, hurting, hoping, that fades. In its place is a new version of you, collected, composed, a man who no longer explains himself because he's too focused on becoming better. This is where she starts to miss you. Not just because you're gone, but because you've become unrecognizable in the best way possible. She expected you to stay the same, to linger in the background, to hold on to what was. But now, when she glances over her shoulder, you're not where she left you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You've moved, and that realization doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly through conversations she overhears, through photos you don't post but others do, through the silence that no longer feels like punishment but peace. She begins to feel like she lost access to something sacred, and it's not the old you that she mourns. It's the you she never got to meet because she walked away too soon. The story she remembers starts shifting from "he needed me too much" to "he became too much for me to handle," from "he was broken after me" to "he became untouchable without me." And that emotional rewrite, that's the kind of heartbreak she can't ignore. Because she didn't just lose a man. She lost a version of him that only exists now that she's no longer a part of his world. And the beauty of it all is you never had to say a word. You didn't have to post cryptic captions or throw shade. You just let her watch the distance grow between who you were and who you are. You became a mirror she can't look into without seeing her own mistake. That's the secret. When you no longer fit the story she told herself about you, her mind starts to replay everything differently. Every memory becomes heavier. Every word you once said now echoes louder. She starts to question the ending. Starts to wonder what would have happened if she had stayed just a little longer, if she had loved you a little deeper, if she had seen your worth before the world did. And by then, it's too late, because the man she hurt has become the man she can't reach. You don't need to announce your glow-up. You don't need to tell her you're doing better. That's the beauty of real elevation. It speaks for itself. It's not loud. It's not decorated with hashtags or subtle jabs. It's quiet, intentional, and rooted in a kind of healing that doesn't seek attention. And that kind of growth? That's what stays on her mind when the world goes silent. That's what makes her miss you in a way that words can't fix. When she hurt you, maybe she thought you'd break, that you'd fall into a cycle of trying to win her back or prove your worth. Maybe she even expected you to compete with whoever came after you. But you chose something more powerful. You chose to rise not with noise, not with spite, but with purpose. Revelation, real elevation happens behind the scenes. It's in the quiet mornings when no one's watching. It's in the new discipline you build when you finally stop thinking about her and start thinking about your future. You go back to the gym not because you want her to see your transformation, but because you're tired of carrying the weight of heartbreak alone. You start chasing the goals you put on hold, the dreams you shelved while loving her, and slowly you begin to shine again. Not like a man trying to be seen, but like a man who has finally found himself. And even if she doesn't say it, she feels it. She hears about you through mutual friends. She sees glimpses of your smile in unexpected places. Maybe someone mentions how you've been glowing differently lately. Maybe your name pops up in a conversation she wasn't ready to have. She thought she left you behind, but the version of you that's now emerging makes her wonder if she ever really knew you at all. It's not about showing off. It's about showing up for yourself. You're no longer seeking closure, no longer hoping she'll come back and validate your pain. Because the man you're becoming isn't standing still. He's moving, growing, building. And that movement creates